Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So remember when you had learned how to sew as one of your top New Year's resolutions? Well, it's been 3 months and you still haven't touched a sewing machine, but no worries. Today we have 2 beginner-friendly upcycles. Each project shouldn't take you more than an hour and a half to complete. And it's perfect if you just want to grab something out of your closet or if you want to thrift something. Again, this is upcycling. We're sustainable baddies around here. Let's jump into it. Okay, so the very first upcycle that we're going to do is we're going to grab a long sleeve shirt. I thrifted this a few months ago. We're gonna just cut off one of the sleeves, do a little cinch action here on this shoulder seam, and then we're also gonna cinch it on the opposite side seam, and we're going to crop it. It's gonna be a very casual, very sporty athleisure vibe, but still elevated. So I'm excited for this one. And the second upcycle is just going to be a little split tee action. So again, I thrifted these shirts a few weeks ago, this Nike one and this plain black one. And basically we're just going to be doing a little split tee. It's going to look very cute. Again, very, very simple. This upcycle should take no longer than an hour, 45 minutes tops. It's a little bit more simpler than the other one. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into these. These 2 projects actually helped me so much learn how to sew a few years ago. So I'm excited to revisit them and kind of give you my tips and tricks. So let's jump in. Okay, so the very first thing that I'm going to do is just try it on and see sort of what we're dealing with. And I can just do like a better overall fitting / measuring. It's actually not as big as I thought it was going to be, which is hopefully a good thing. I have marked 2 spots on the shirt. The first is with the safety pin, and that's just going to be where I crop it. Now I don't want to crop it too much because we're going to do a little cinch situation. So I want to make sure that I have enough length where it could kind of like drape nicely. And then I marked another pin right here. Now this top is very interesting because of this shoulder seam. It's a lot more decorative than like a normal rudimentary long sleeve shirt is. So I'm gonna have to sort of like finagle that, but I do know that I want it to hit like right at my shoulder. So now the next step is to just cut. We actually want to keep this fabric because we're going to be utilizing it for the other elements. Typically this sleeve seam is something like this, but because they were a little bit decorative with the design, it goes that way. So that's the only issue that I'm struggling with. I think what I'm going to do is just sort of follow this natural line, maybe an inch, and then just cutting it like that. And then again, we're just going to be using this excess fabric. 0 waste here. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to pin all of these layers of fabric and I'm going to hem them so everything looks nice and polished. There's something about reworking Nike that just feels so nostalgic to me, because essentially these were the items that I really practiced my sewing skills on, and I built my whole brand basically in the beginning on like reworked Nike. So it feels really special to get back into it. So I pinned this sleeve, I'm going to overlock it, and then I'm gonna do the exact same thing with this bottom hem. Okay, so I just finished overlocking both the sleeve and the bottom hem. Now we're just gonna cut some pieces to make the channel for the 2 cinch elements. Okay, so now I have a 10" by 2" little rectangle for the side seam, and then I have a 5.5" by 2" rectangle for the little shoulder cinch. Okay, so I have my strips for my cinching channels. Now basically what I'm going to do is just flip this inside out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this little strip of fabric and I'm just going to place it on the shoulder seam like so. And then I did the same thing with the side seam. Now we're just going to sew all around it and then down the middle so we can create 2 little channels. Okay, so I put a little safety pin through the little elastic and this is what my channel looks like. So I'm just gonna feed it through this way and then around here, and then that's it. Okay, so now it's in there, and what happens is when you pull it, it scrunches up. Okay, now we're gonna jump into the second upcycle of this video, and it's gonna be the split tee. So I'm sitting here kind of playing around with the design, and this is what I came up with. I just folded the black tee in half, and I kind of am liking this off-centered look. We have this beautiful little cute saying, "Have a Nike day." Then splitting it in the middle just wouldn't really make sense with the design. But so it all kind of just depends on the graphic tee that you choose, but I'm happy with this. If this wasn't a beginner-friendly tutorial, I would probably do some like squiggly lines action. So basically I would kind of just like cut it around this curvature and then bring it down like that. So it would create kind of like a yin shape. But adding curvatures adds a whole other level of skills and issues. So we're just gonna keep it into a straight line, but that is a choice if you're a little bit more advanced. Oh, I'm just going to measure a 1/2 inch. And then I'm just gonna mark that point right here. And then that's going to be where I start the line. You wanna make sure that your garment is as flat as possible so that you get a straight line. We split that. And then now we're gonna grab the black tee. So we've laid the black tee as flat as possible, and then essentially we're just going to be using this as a template so we know exactly how much to take off. I tried to find shirts that were equal in size. Now that I'm putting these together, they don't look so equal, but that is okay. Obviously, the closer in size that the shirts are, the easier that this is. But I think this works fine. And then we can put them together. I kind of like this asymmetric vibe. So the most important part of this upcycle is that we align the collars together. That's what's gonna make it look the most polished. But all that we have left to do is just to pin right sides together, and then we should be done. But again, like I said, the most important part is aligning the collar. Okay, so I have my pieces already clipped in. Something to note is that t-shirt material is bound to kind of like curl up. So you want to be very careful of the tension that you put on these fabrics so that whenever you're pinning it, you're not getting it pinned when they're curled, because that's going to mess up the stitching and the tension. Going off by what I just said, you want to make sure that your tension is a little bit low. I have mine set at 2 because we don't want it to pucker up and create weird like ripple effects. So make sure that your tension is pretty low, and then my stitch length is at 4 and my width is at 1. But that kind of, I find that that's a good range. So those are my settings. Now let's get to sewing. And this should take about 5 minutes or less, honestly. Always make sure to backstitch, and then let's rock and roll. I'm doing 5/8 of an inch for seam allowance. I would suggest doing that too, because then we can press our seams so everything can lay nice and flat. Okay, final reveals in 3, 2, 1. So this is going to be the first upcycle. This is the one shoulder cinch action top. This is so versatile. Absolutely love how it turned out. It feels elegant, but you still have kind of that sporty vibe because of the material and of course the Nike logo. There's so many ways to style this top, so I love that. And then here we have the second upcycle, the little little split tee action. I just love how it just gives that extra oomph to an otherwise boring tee. I love that it's just a little bit more interesting to look at, and the best part is that you were able to do it yourself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this multiple tutorial video. I hope you learned a lot. If you decide to recreate, please tag me in all your pictures. I will leave like my Instagram and my TikToks. But yeah, I love you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.